Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to talk about the psychiatric reprisal, and yes, this will be probably my last video, my last educational video of the year. It's December 31st, 2024, and it's a topic that's really important, and the only reason I'm discussing it is because I received in the mail from the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, Volume 8, Issue 1, and the heading is, let me read it to you, the page is stuck here, Lake Alice Psychiatric Hospital, Justice for Tortured Children. Stop Psychiatric Abuses. Before I get into the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, it's thanked for 45 years to fight for justice for 300 kiddos tortured with electroshock at the Lake Alice Psychiatric Hospital in New Zealand. And I know we've got some people here, some subscribers that live in New Zealand. Listen up, listen up. This is what it looks like here. Let me just show you the heading. Okay, so let's get back to this, my little celebration image. So now what happened here is the New Zealand Royal Commission of Inquiry is the highest level of inquiry in the country's government. It has at its disposal to investigate issues of national importance. So, this was used to look into the kiddos' rights violations perpetrated at the now closed Lake Alice Hospital, a rural psychiatric facility. The inquiry heard evidence of 300 kiddos electroshock without anesthetic on various body parts as quote-unquote behavior therapy. In heart-wrenching testimonies, former patient stories tell of the torture they endured. CCHR New Zealand played an essential role in exposing these abuses at Lake Alice Hospital, for which Judge Coral Short, hearing the evidence, thanked CCHR New Zealand for the extraordinary efforts that it has gone through since the 1970s to keep this flame alive on behalf of the survivors. When the representatives testified, they told the judge told them that they were heroes. They first investigated allegations of electroshock and sexual abuse in 1976, resulting in the hospital's kiddo and adolescent unit being shut down in 1978, but those responsible were never held accountable, causing further trauma to the kiddos. And many kiddos from foster homes and under guardianship orders were transferred to Lake Alice Hospital, leaving them under lock and key. The staff punished children as young as 5 with electroshock for not eating their vegetables, for bedwetting, pillow fights, things that kiddos do all the time, and smoking. Perceived quote-unquote bad behavior was diagnosed as a psychiatric illness, justifying the torture, which was passed off as therapy. Well, I'm going to say something there. Nothing has changed. We have diagnosed active behavior in children, or perhaps Wi-Fi radiation exposure and horrible foods and hormones and stuff in the foods, as ADHD. Yes, Dr. Peter Bregan wrote a book called The ADHD Fraud. And I wrote my master thesis paper on ADHD alternatives, which was actually the name of my YouTube channel. My first YouTube channel is ADHD alternatives. Alternative treatments instead of using pharmaceuticals. Yeah, because of the negative side effects. So nothing has changed. It's just packaged differently now. Nobody likes child behavior. So let's turn it into some kind of psychiatric illness, because we can profit off it more, right? So rather than go on to this, because it's quite disturbing, I'm going to read to you about the psychiatric reprisal, because this happens not only to kiddos. It happens to a lot of women that are sexually abused in childhood. And then when they begin to speak out about it, they're further abused in the system, because their parents will send them away, medicate them into submission. I know it happened to one of my friends years ago. Yeah, she was placed on lithium, because I knew as soon as I met her father, it just flashed before my eyes that he was sexually abusing her. There was no doubt in my mind. And he kept her on lithium to keep her mouth shut. I don't know how she is. Her name was Lynn. The psychiatric reprisal and psychiatric fraud are terms often used in discussion about the misuse of psychiatric practices for the purpose other than legitimate mental health treatment. And here's an overview. The psychiatric reprisal refers to the use of psychiatric evaluations, diagnoses, or treatments as a form of punishment or coercion against individuals, often in institutional or political contexts. Or if your police department down the block in Manalapan, you know, the Manalapan Police Department, or if they've got an agenda, like they want your house for one of their copper friends, and they want to discredit the fact that you incurred $300,000 vandalism to that house. Yeah, then they'll send Tina Booth over, break into your house without a warrant, and have the Manalapan police wipe clean all your porch security cameras. That's right, they have the technology and the ability to do that. Yes. Oh, I'm not the only one. I can give you a list. Probably off the top of my head, I could probably give you 10 women that this has happened to. Yeah, including, but not limited to, Helena Chorba, who's no longer with us. Kim Straub, who's no longer with us. She lived in Tennessee. She was a nurse, by the way. Yeah, several other people whose names I can't mention. But several. I mean, there's a list. The list is endless. It's happened to men also. I know, because I have written letters on behalf of these targeted people, some of which I never knew, never met, never spoke to in my life. Because this should not happen to anybody. So the psychiatric reprisal refers to the use of psychiatric evaluations, diagnoses, or treatments as a form of punishment or coercion against individuals, often in institutional or political contexts. It is a misuse of psychiatry to suppress, dissent, discredit individuals, or exert control over them. For example, in authoritarian regimes, political dissents might be declared mentally ill to justify their detainment, and in personal conflicts, accusations of mental instability might be weaponized to undermine somebody's credibility or autonomy. And this happens in divorces, where a narcissistic parent will try to seek control over the child, you know, the parental alienation, when meanwhile it's the narcissist that's the abusive one. Oh, and this happens all the time. And then what ends up happening is, once in that narcissist's care, that child's emotional health deteriorates significantly, and sometimes they meet with an untimely unaliving as a result. Yeah. Oh, there's lots of that in the news. I won't go into it. Then there's the ethical and legal concerns. So this practice violates ethical principles of psychiatry, including respect for patients' autonomy and justice. It can lead to significant human rights violations, such as involuntary commitment or forced medication without valid medical grounds. And this is for educational purposes only. I'm merely reading here. And then the psychiatric fraud refers to the intentional misrepresentation or misuse of psychiatric practices for financial, personal, or other non-medical gains. It encompasses fraudulent activities by individuals or institutions within the psychiatric field. But I'm going to add that the police are now weaponizing psychiatry. Oh yeah, anybody that they don't like, and especially if you're married to one and divorced one, oh yeah, that's a weapon in their pocket. They'll do that to you. Examples: fabricating or exaggerating a psychiatric diagnosis to bill insurance companies for unnecessary treatments. Oh, and that was one of my arguments to the Attorney General in New Jersey against the Manalapan Police Department. Yeah, they tried to bill the Medicare that I had. I don't have medical insurance. So they were very happy to release me after 6 hours because they weren't going to get a dime from me. Selling unapproved or ineffective treatments under the guise of legitimate psychiatric care. Using the psychiatric label to justify custody decisions, employment termination, or other legal outcomes without appropriate evidence. Sort of like wanting to place somebody on a watch list so that you could receive a grant and line your pocket in your very lucrative side hustle. Impact. Patients can be harmed through unnecessary treatment, stigmatization, or financial exploitation. It undermines trust in mental health services and can discourage individuals from seeking needed care. So what are the challenges in addressing these issues? Well, we need a regulatory oversight. Both psychiatric reprisal and fraud often thrive in environments where there is no adequate oversight or accountability mechanisms. How about fusion centers, right? Who do they report to? They report to the cops. There's something inherently wrong with this. And then there's professional ethics. Upholding the integrity of the psychiatric practice depends on adherence to ethical standards and proper training. Legal protections, strong legal frameworks are essential to prevent misuse and protect the rights of individuals subjected to unjust psychiatric practices. So how do you protect against these practices? Well, there's awareness. This is what we're doing today. This is what I'm doing right now. Awareness, educating patients, families, and the public about mental health and their rights. Advocacy, supporting organizations that fight against abuses in mental health. Legal recourse, seeking legal action in cases where psychiatric practices are misused. Get a second opinion. Encouraging the pursuit of multiple assessments when psychiatric diagnoses or treatments are disputed. So, we're going to end on that note, and I know that you all are going to have some comments on this one. So, again, this was the Citizens Commission on Human Rights is thanked for 45-year fight for justice for 300 kiddos tortured with electroshock at the Lake Alice Psychiatric Hospital in New Zealand, and they would punish them for not eating their vegetables. Oh my goodness, unbelievable, right? Anyway, it's amazing the things that they can use to justify torture and fulfilling their sadistic pleasure, their sadistic propensities. This is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. I'm going to sign off right now. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there. And I'll probably have like a New Year's message for you guys later this evening after all the animals are fed and tucked away. Talk to you soon.